Happy July to you as we bring you this update from the city of Maple Grove. Time once again for the Maple Grove City Report, a chance to look back at the last council meeting and a look at all that's happening in Maple Grove. Stay with us. Maple Grove Report coming up right now. And thanks again for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report, joined by Al Madsen, City Administrator. Welcome again, Al.
Thank you, Dave.
Fresh off Maple Grove days and some of the fun that's been happening in town, so we'll have that for you here in just a second. And also we've got a council meeting that was about an hour and a half to tell you about. But first, let's look around town. Let's start with Maple Grove days. Some fun in the city here just recently as we're taping this program.
It was, weather turned out to be perfect. It rained early Saturday morning, but with the power of MGCO and Deb Syrie, it turned out to be a beautiful, beautiful day. Thursday night was a wonderful day for a parade. That was just a fantastic night for the parade, and lots of units and lots of people.
Yes.
We're estimating that it is probably the highest attendance ever for Maple Grove Days parade. Some folks are saying 20,000 along the parade route.
My goodness.
So it was, I mean, when we were narrating it, and you look down the parade route, and it's just lined with people. So
Yep. It's 2-3 deep at some places, definitely.
Yep, they love a good parade. So that went very, very well. And then Friday evening, well, we had some activities on Friday. Friday evening was the ambassador coronation, and I want to congratulate Libby Warner, Anna Worrell, and Alexa Cassenguay for being our new ambassadors for the city of Maple Grove, and I know that they'll do a fantastic job. So.
They have a busy year ahead.
They sure do, no doubt about that, yes. They'll do a good job of representing the city. And then Saturday, all the different events that took place during the day Saturday, and then Saturday evening was the fireworks, and that was really outstanding.
Yeah,
that was,
nice
again,
show.
that pulled in thousands and thousands of people. Sunday, we had an open house of the city's Maple Grove Historical Society Museum. And we had, I think, over 300 people that came through.
Great.
And it was just great. A lot of folks, and the Historical Society Museum is located in a portion of our public works facility. We built a new one, and the museum and the society is located in a portion that we vacated. And so that's where the museum and the open house was on Sunday, and people just came out, and we were just amazed with the turnout. So.
If people miss that, there is an opportunity to stop by and see that on a regular basis. Is that right? How do people find out about hours or opportunities to talk to people there?
Well, they can certainly contact Joyce Dean or Don Kish, or they can certainly contact me at the city.
Okay.
It's not open, regular hours,
Right.
But if somebody does want to set up an appointment to stop by and see what's there, we're more than happy to do that. So
Very good.
it's a lot of wonderful historical items in there. As I mentioned before, is that Maple Grove is a rapidly growing community, and so what happened is you start to lose history. The Preservation Society is doing a fantastic job of starting to find the history that's been lost,
Right.
and maintaining the history. So they're great group of people, and I would urge people to consider joining the organization. It's a lot of fun, and I'm kind of a history buff, and so it's fun just seeing all the old things that are in there. And so stop and think, boy, how did we survive back then, or how did our parents or grandparents survive back then? We're also spoiled by the goodies that we have today. So Maple Grove Day is highly successful. So.
And you mentioned Deb a moment ago, and Deb, one of the many volunteers that help out with this.
Yes.
That crew works endlessly to make this happen.
They sure do. Deb Syrie is the president of the MGCO, and she does an outstanding job, and she has a fantastic committee and hundreds of volunteers, because it takes lots of folks to put on a community celebration. And so Deb is just full of energy. She could bottle it. She be a billionaire. So
And I think she took maybe 2 or 3 days off, and then she already called you and said, the date for next year is this.
yes, it's July 9 to the 13th. That's 2014. So
All right.
They're already working on the 2014 Maple Grove Days.
Put it on your calendar.
For
It is a
sure.
big event in town.
You
How
bet.
about some other things happening in Maple Grove here in late June, July?
Well, we're celebrating at the end of July. We're celebrating our 10th year anniversary of the Farmers Market. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but that's just been highly, highly successful. We're finding that current home sales are increasing by about 4%. So we're thinking that the home values that we're going to be placing on property coming up in our assessing year is going to be probably 4 to 5% higher than it has been in the past, which is a nice trend because
Right.
previously the trend was in negative figures, and so
Exactly.
now we're seeing a turnaround. So foreclosures are down to about 200. So they're steadily dropping. We're also finding that when a property is foreclosed on, there's a certain time frame when a lender cannot sell it, but we're finding there's a lot of short sales. We're finding there's a faster turnover.
Okay.
And so property that and we monitor the vacant homes just to make sure they're being maintained. And so it's nice to see that number
Definitely
go down. August 3rd, Saturday, August 3rd, we'll be having the opening of the skate park. I'm sure that you'll be there on your skateboard.
Of course. Got my helmet ready.
All right,
Big
good.
helmet and some pillows.
Yeah, right. There you go. Skate park at the community center. That'll be a really, really nice addition. It's open now, but the official grand opening will be Saturday. And my son keeps telling me, Dad, where were you 20 years ago when I was skateboarding?
That's right.
So anyway, Upshur Smith is a large company in town on the east side of 494. Submitted their building permit application for 121,000 square foot expansion. So they were approved last year and then put it on the shelf for the moment, but now they're back, and so we'll
Excellent.
see an expansion of that facility, and that's a very sizable expansion. We have right now to date 128 single family building permits. That compares to 105 last year.
Okay.
We're going to see a number of the residential permits dramatically increase because the Sky Arbor Lakes will be coming in, and that's 400 plus. Silvercrest, their senior project, which was approved by the council, it's called Silver Creek at Maine. Their first phase is 182 units, and then John Duffy's project will be 50 units. Of the second phase will be another 50. So
Right.
there's going to be a lot of building permits, and there's going to be a lot of building activity that's going to be taking place in that general area of the gravel mine.
That downtown Main Street area is now at the point where we sat here 5-10 years ago and talked about that was really phase 2 of the process, was
Yes.
get the retail going and then the housing would come after. And
Right.
it's looking like you thought it would look and the city is thinking it would look.
I think so. I think that our mayor and council and staff, we've been diligent about following the city's comprehensive land use plan. Sometimes you tweak it, but I think the vision that the mayor and the council and staff had years ago, it's come into play. So yeah,
Some
we're happy with
shop
it.
owners very happy along Main Street, I know, and in the whole shops and fountains
Sure.
area to have all of these people soon
yes.
to be right next door.
Right, absolutely right. You bet. National Night Out, that will be Tuesday, August 6th. I just have a tough time coming to grips that August, and
I
they're
know.
advertising the state fair already. So, and speaking of that, we will have a shuttle service or bus service from our Arbor Lakes Transit Station to the state fairgrounds on the weekends of the state fair. So I encourage people to take that and not fight the traffic and try to
Agreed.
find a parking space.
So not too late for people to sign up for
No.
National Night Out if they're
Oh, gosh,
interested,
no.
and then you're
No.
still having your police staff will be doing some cooking
They'll-
out at the community
yes,
center.
they'll be doing some cooking on Tuesday,
Good.
August 6th, at the community center, Lions Pavilion. And no, it's not too late to sign up for
Okay.
National Night Out. Last year, I believe we had 135 neighborhoods. This year, I think we're about 110 so far. But I would imagine if I checked with Todd Strigi, who's our CSO person that's handling all this, it's got to be beyond that now. So Maple Grove was third in the nation 2 years in a row now for the number of neighborhoods participating. And some of these neighborhoods, I mean, they really, really get into National Night Out. So it's a good excuse, I guess, for them to have a party.
It's a carnival on their own and food. So you've got your path figured out already? You're going to be out and about that night yourself?
We do. I don't know about the path yet, but yes, it'll be myself, the mayor, and the chief of police, and then one of our ambassadors that go out, and we hit a variety of neighborhoods, and then each council member does the same thing with one of the ambassadors, and then also one of our officers. So we try to get out and make as many neighborhoods as we can, but it does get kind of a time crunch. So, but
your
it's
strategy is down to a science, I know. Grab something to eat it in the car, get to the next spot, grab something, eat it in the car, right?
There
as
you
easy
go.
As
That's a perfect strategy. I like that. Yes, but National Night Out it's a wonderful program, and I just our city is always stepped to the plate. Been very excited about it.
Very true.
So, our community survey is back, but it's a draft, and so the consultant is still fine tuning it. But as I mentioned at the parade, one of the nice things, and there's far more to it than this, but one of the questions was, how do you like living in Maple Grove? Good, very good. 96% of the respondents said good to very good, and so that speaks very, very well for the city. But I know it's more than just that. It also points out some areas where we're good, but not as good as we should be.
Right.
Other areas where we need to be working on, and so that's one of the nice things about the community survey. So gives us some food to take action on areas that we might be weak in.
Good. So maybe an upcoming program when all of those numbers are whittled down to something on one sheet of paper, we can talk a little bit more about and give the viewers some more information about that.
Absolutely, that's not a problem. Weaver Lake Road is 100% complete, but then the engineers always say, well, there's a little landscaping left to be done. But
right.
For all practical purposes, it's complete. Our street reconstruction program is coming along very, very well. We have had very, very few complaints this year. It can be frustrating when your street's being torn up and redone and your mailboxes are all relocated to another area. And so there is a certain level of inconvenience, but when the project is done, it's great. And I can speak example when my street was redone. There's some inconvenience, but boy, once it's done, it's just beautiful looking and smooth and just nice. So
very good.
Council meeting was an hour and a half long, which it's unusual for some of ours.
Yes.
But we did have a couple of items that were, one especially was extensively discussed. I want to welcome Rory Howell to our Arbor Committee. He has been appointed as a new member to fill a vacancy. We did have also on the agenda was the 2013 Wildlife Management Plan, and that's on the city's website. And we do that every year. We lay out the wildlife management plan, and some people will think, well, is there anywhere to hunt in Maple Grove because everything is being built on? And there is. There's still places to go. So we did have 3 liquor license matters that we did have to deal with. We had 3 violations. First was Chipotle, the Main Street Chipotle. Had a violation, and unfortunately this is their second violation in 3 years, which means that they will have a 5-day suspension. JC's Grill had a violation. This is their first violation, so they'll have a 2-day suspension. And the Maple Grove Tavern had their first violation, and again, that's a 2-day suspension. We did have a 4th business that had a violation, but that won't be coming to the council until probably the 2nd meeting in August, I think, something like that, and that's Costco. So, and the council will deal with it at that time.
And again, this, for people that don't know, is a regular process the city goes through. It's a few times a year, is that correct? That there are some attempts to make sure the businesses are following all the rules.
Right. We do have one of our police officers that goes out with an individual that's under 21, and it still amazes me though. Most of the cases we find where evidently the servers are just in such a hurry, they do not take the time to even ask for the ID. The real frustrating part is if they ask for it, look at it, and still serve the person, because if you got a Minnesota driver's license in front of you, it's going to make it very clear that you're under 21.
Right.
And so there's just no excuse if you look at the license. So in most cases, it's just human error. They just don't take the time to take a look at it. So, but yes, we do have a couple of sessions during the year, compliance checks during the year, and we also have mandatory training sessions where we require all of those with liquor license to come in. We hold those. Next one will be in August, and we hold a one-day session, and it's free to the businesses that have liquor license. And again, it's mandatory. They do need to come in and attend one of those. So,
how does this compare to the past few checks?
We're down.
Good.
We still are hoping to get to 0.
Right,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
goal.
That's our goal. We did have 12 about maybe a year or two ago, which was terrible. But so we're at 4, and we're happy. We're heading in the right direction.
Good.
So
Very good.
we had several items of discussion on this past council meeting, and so that's why we ended up with an hour-and-a-half meeting. First was a residential project called Stella Ridge. That's in the area of 77th and Dunkirk. That's a relatively small subdivision of 14 single-family units. That had very little discussion. It meets all aspects of code. Then we moved to Silvercrest. Silvercrest is a developer that has proposed a multi-story, multi-phase senior housing development at the corner of Main Street and Weaver Lake Road.
Right.
That is an exceptional project. The architecture is fantastic. I think that the Silvercrest, it's going to be called Silver Creek at Main. I think that sets the standards pretty high for the rest of the development to come. It's a roughly 360 unit senior development, with the first phase being 182 units, and then the second phase would be another 180. It's a community within a community. It's just got all kinds of wonderful services within the facility, and the architecture is fantastic looking. The landscaping is fantastic. We've already had a number of calls from residents who saw the plan being discussed at the Planning Commission meeting, and then at the council meeting have sent emails saying, where do I sign up? How do I get on the list?
Can I reserve a spot?
Right, how do I get on the list? And one of our senior projects in town, we've got 140 on their waiting list. They're 100% occupied, and there's 140 on there. And the community survey that came back did have some discussion about seniors. And this market is still strong for senior development. But the Silvercrest project, I think, is just going to really set the trend for that area. And it fits very, very well with our overall land use plan, the vision that we've been talking about. So,
what are the levels of care, do you know, at the Silver Creek building?
You'll have fully independent, fully independent care, and then you'll have some partial dependent, and then you'll have the fully assisted.
Okay.
Now, the fully assisted is a smaller element of the 182 units. Most of it is fully independent individuals.
So the thought that there's a mix of care, so as a person might move in an independent care and they needed more care, they could move to another part of the building
They
potentially.
could stay right in that same building,
Okay.
sure. That would be the beauty of it. And our senior city's Woodland Mounds, which is a city-owned senior development of 88 units, whenever we have a vacancy, bingo, it's filled up. And we have a waiting list on ours as well. So.
I'm sure.
One item that had the most discussion was a development called Bridges at Arbor Lakes. That's a current development that's across from the library, across from the fitness center, that area. That was developed in several phases. Opus started the development of that a number of years back. Ron Clark, the developer now, wants to finish off the development of it. Most of the discussion really took place dealing with the architecture. They want to deviate with the architecture a little bit from what's there now, and they also want to deviate a little bit from from the style of the townhomes.
Okay.
And that was debated at length by the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission recommended denial, feeling that what was being proposed just didn't fit well with what is already there. And so the council did discuss the development at length. The developer came in and did change some of his plans by shifting some of the buildings, making some changes to the back of some of the buildings. The council still had, though, concern with architecture. We did have some residents that live in the Bridges area that came and were concerned as to how will the new bridges,
Right.
how will they fit into what's there, and is it going to look like, well, that just stands out from the rest. So there was a lot of discussion that went on about that. It was clear after extensive discussion that the project was probably going to head for denial, and I think the developer noticed that. And then I think it was the mayor suggested that the item be tabled.
Okay.
And the developer go back to the drawing board, work with city staff. The council felt that our city planners had enough information as to, the concerns of the council. And so then staff will work with the builder and try to resolve some of the concerns that the council has. I mean, it's a nice project. It's just a lot of it has to do with the style of the townhomes and then maybe some of the architecture features. But that was tabled, and that it probably would come back to the August 5th council meeting.
Okay. So relatively
unless
quickly.
unless the developer is delayed. But excuse me. But other than that, it probably will come back to the August 5th. We also set a special city council meeting for August 5th at 6:30 in the mayor's conference room. Purpose of that is to talk about traffic management, and then anything else, that I find necessary to update the council on. Council never takes any formal action at special meetings. They're more of informational type meetings, so it gives us the opportunity to brief the council on, different things that are going on. And traffic management, a lot of this one will have to do with roundabouts. And so
Our favorite topic, or one of them.
roundabouts. And roundabouts are certainly a clear traffic calming measure. Can be a little confusing, though, for some that
Right.
enter into a roundabout for the very first time. And so, but we have a number of roundabouts in the city now, and there's a number of them that are going to be planned in the future. So I think that people are becoming more and more accustomed to it, more comfortable with it. But we'll talk about traffic management at that meeting, and then.
How many are there in Maple Grove at this point? I
Oh,
can think of a couple, but I know there's more than that.
Oh, yeah, there's more than that. That's a good question. I'm not certain
You
exactly.
haven't been out driving around all of them?
No, not all of them. I know we got at least a half a dozen, but probably even more than that. So that's a good question. I'll have to see. I'll find out the answer.
All right, we'll get some
The
stats
next
for
meeting,
you.
right.
Back to the bridges for just a second. How many units were developed in the first part, or what we currently see at the bridges, and how many more are they projecting will be built to finish that plot out?
I'm trying to think how many more they're projected. What they're projecting right now is it was to be 8. And then the developer did some changing and dropped it to 7
Okay.
in this proposal.
So a very small amount
It's a
compared to what's already there.
Yes, it's a very small amount, but the issue was, I guess, just the style of the townhouse. How does it relate? And then some of the architectural features. How does it relate to what's already there? And I know some of the residents were a little bit concerned, is it going to stand out, just those units stand out by themselves and be a detraction from the rest of the development? It's a very, very nice townhouse development. The features inside are great. The facility, the buildings themselves are very great. So it's a great location across from the library and by the fitness center and our downtown area. So, but this proposal was for 7. He had shrunk it down a little bit.
And that would finish the property completely?
That would finish the property, yes. And so it's been a long process. It seems to me that Opus first started that about 10 years ago. And then they built a couple of phases of it, and then pretty much got out of that element of business And then Ron Clark has come in and has already done some of the units there before. And his view was that what I'm proposing now really isn't too much different from what I did previously, which it is, some aspects of it though is somewhat different. So
Okay.
I think the residents there and the council are just looking for consistency. Oh.
Very good.
Meeting got over an hour and a half, got over about 9 o'clock, and it was a very smooth meeting, and everything went well. So.
Now, you aren't going to get out of the building without one of our crew people and probably a few viewers hearing about Whole Foods. Tell us about the launch of Whole Foods. Obviously, we've talked about it many times, long anticipated, and
Yes.
I was driving through after another story yesterday at the shops, and all seemed calm and under control, and there were open parking places. This was middle of the afternoon. What have you seen and heard?
Well, I've heard that parking has been an issue. Now, we knew that going in,
Right.
That it would be an issue. In a lot of cases, when the first grand opening of something takes place, there's always lots and lots of people, and then it gradually kind of settles into a routine. I went past there at 8 o'clock heading to a meeting in the southern part of the city, and I was surprised. I expected to see hundreds of people. There were people standing outside. And in the parking lot, yeah, cars, but I didn't see traffic jams.
So this was 8 in the morning.
That was 8 in the morning,
Okay.
yeah, but I did hear that later as the day went on or the morning went on, yes, the traffic was tough, and finding a parking space is tough. The Whole Foods is not allowed to have their employees park in our transit station. That is exclusively for our transit riders. They can certainly, customers and employees can park in our transit station on weekends and after 6 at night, but not before 6,
Okay.
because that's exclusively for our transit riders. And we did find yesterday that unfortunately, management had been telling employees to park in the transit station.
Aha.
And we did have a complaint from one individual that could not find a parking space and missed her bus because the spaces were all gone.
Understand.
So, but I think eventually it'll settle into a routine. But yes, there were some parking issues yesterday. We welcome Whole Foods to the community. So.
And for people that walk up between Whole Foods and the grill, there's still that open spot. Any further word on what used to be the World Market? Is that something I would think, if I was in business, that might be a spot I would want?
No, it's still vacant, yes.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, there isn't anybody that's proposed to go in there. There is some possibilities of the former Borders book space.
Great.
There's one out there that might be consuming that space. But as far as World Market space, that still is vacant and not aware of anybody. But I think I mentioned sometime back that one viewer said that we should tear down World Market and build a parking ramp, and then that solves the parking issue for that
Sure.
area. But when parking ramps cost anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 per stall, it gets a little pricey.
In the last minute, speaking of parking ramps, you are working on a parking ramp right
Yes,
now.
we are.
Tell us about the Parkway Station real quickly and what's going on there.
Parkway Station, we're building a ramp at one level above the blacktop surface. Construction has started on that. The transit riders temporarily have been shifted over to a large vacant parcel in front of Slumberland. And so they'll park there until we get that level ramp up. It's just one level, but it'll certainly add roughly another 500 possible parking slots. So.
And it was always in the plans, as I understand. It was built
Yes.
to hold this when it would
Yes.
come to be, and now the need is there, so up it goes.
Right, yep. When we put in the footings and foundation and everything, planning for, a first a level above the asphalt, and so
Very good.
it's come along. So
Excellent. Al, thank you very much again
Thank
for
you,
your
Dave.
time. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Leave you with more information about the city if you're interested. You see the website up on the top of the screen, all the information about Maple Grove Days. If you want to get involved already for next year or some of the other things happening. Next council meeting is Monday, August 5th, 7:30 at the Government Center. 494-6000, the number to the Government Center if you have questions. And if you have comments for the program, 533-1710 is our viewer response line. Certainly give us a call, and we'll try to answer that on the program. For Al Madsen, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.